Ron DeSantis spent the first half of the pandemic bragging about how well Florida was doing and asking for everyone to apologize for him. And he is spending the second half, where Florida is now the hottest spot, literally in the world, for coronavirus, pretending that that's not the case. And so because school openings is the new thing that the right is pushing for, here's what he had to say about it.
And look, I do all that, so I'm not like looking down on it. But if all that is essential, then educating our kids is absolutely essential. And they have been put to the back of the line in some respects. Florida's done a better job with distance learning, I think, than any other state. But I'll tell you, there's a gap here. There's big gaps around the country, and we need to put them, give them the opportunity to go in person. I could say as a parent, I have a newborn, I have a 2-year-old, I have a 3-year-old. They're not old enough to go to school, so obviously they won't be in kindergarten or anything coming up. But I would not hesitate putting them in terms of the risk, because the risk, fortunately for kids, is extremely, extremely low. That data has been verified. If you can do Home Depot, if you can do Walmart, if you can do these things, we absolutely can do the schools. I want our kids to be able to minimize this education gap that I think is developed.
Yeah, I do too, because, suffering from a big education gap, like Ron DeSantis does, produces terrible outcomes like Ron DeSantis has.
We're so good at distance learning as a state. In Florida, we've distanced ourselves completely from the concept of learning. We just don't come near it.
No. So, a few problems with Ron DeSantis there. One, I love him pulling a Greg Abbott there. Greg Abbott famously said, nobody's asked me to sacrifice myself, but if they did, I gladly would. I'm not saying I'm brave, but please think that I'm brave for saying I would do a hypothetical that no one was asking me to do. So he's there.
It was Dan Patrick.
Oh, was it Dan Patrick? Okay.
Dan Patrick, the lieutenant governor, who used to be a talk show host.
I think I've gotten that wrong before, actually. Thank you for correcting me. So there he's saying, I don't have kids old enough to go back, so this doesn't affect me directly in literally any way, but I totally would send them back. I don't have to, thankfully, and we'll be out of this before I have to. But you all should, even though you're scared that they will die or they'll bring the virus back and kill someone. And so he had that to say. The comparison, though, if we can go to Walmart, then, like, if you can go to Walmart so that you don't starve to death, we can pack dozens of kids in a small area and assume that they'll socially distance and keep their masks on. That seems reasonable, right, Brett?
Because when you go to Walmart, you stay there in a room for 8 hours. That's how it works. I know that when you go to Home Depot, yes, JR and I talked about this in the morning meeting. It's just like, yeah, actually, I do stay there for a very long time. But it's big, wide. You're wearing masks. You're getting in. You're getting out. Typically, the idea of comparing an educational environment to Walmart is insane. It is positively insane. And that's not, and the through line with this is there never is their goal the right goal. Their goal is some weird arbitrary thing they've decided on, because that they don't really think through very much, because they have been typically, as Republicans, so good at convincing their base that this goal is the right goal, just go with the goal. The goal shouldn't be send everyone back to school. Mm-hmm. The goal should be let's get back to regular life safely. But you don't hear safely anywhere in this discussion. Especially, it proves that they don't have it anywhere in their minds. They're so confident that they have these supporters that will follow them blindly, despite the reality of humanity and the reality of existence in America in COVID, that they're having huge spikes in Florida right now. This is not at a time when things have gone down. They don't even know when to take their shot. It's the hubris.
Yeah.
Oops.
100%. You could do it safely, hypothetically. The issue is that they have the extremist position that we have to open, and we don't want it to be safe. That is Tucker Carlson's stated position.
It's all about they just want to be perceived as doing it right, as they want. It's so frustrating because they don't want to solve the problem. They just want to look like the problem's solved.
Yeah. They want people to think that it's solved no matter what.
But like these numbers are horrible.
Well, let's transition to the numbers.
And they should have a bearing on reality.
Let's transition to these numbers. So I put together a few different important things to know. In Florida, this is just Florida. On Wednesday, they had nearly 10,000 cases. On Thursday, they had nearly 11,500. So shooting up, cases overall in the state, 244,151. 93 people died just on Thursday, just in Florida. Their deaths are over 4,100 just in Florida. And just out of curiosity, when I saw that number, the number of people who've died just in Florida, I thought, where would that rank Florida? If Florida was a country, it would have the 23rd highest country death rate compared to all countries around the world. And obviously there are countries that are smaller, but there's a lot of countries that are bigger than Florida, and it would be in the top 24 for deaths as a country. And I will also say, I up until yesterday was very lucky that no one close to me had been diagnosed with coronavirus. Well, as of yesterday, that's not true anymore. And so I have a close family member who is in the hospital right now, not in a hospital room, mind you, because there's no rooms to give this individual who has serious side effects, serious symptoms, and was diagnosed with coronavirus, can't get a room because the hospitals are so full. And Ron DeSantis, the governor of that state, because this is in Florida, is going up there and talking about, if you could go to FYE for a while, you could reopen everything. It's cool. And he has undercut not just the government response in Florida at every step of the way, but he has undercut people's knowledge of what's going on, the seriousness with which they'll take it. If they trust Ron DeSantis, they are no longer equipped to be serious about this. And that is what has produced the environment necessary for it to spread as fast as it is in Florida.
And that and I mean, we all remember Ron DeSantis's campaign ad where he is just showing that he is reading Trump's book to his kid. It's not about the safety. Also, just add to the school aspect of it. And it's heartbreaking to hear that you're going through that. And I hope everything turns out all right. So 2 points. One, the reason for lowering the curve is to avoid flattening the curve and all these social distancing measures, et cetera, is to avoid the situation that the person close to you is in. We don't want to fill up that's the one thing that I've seen get through, and I'm sure they all saw it in the same Vox Netflix special. You need to get this under control just because we need enough beds for everybody to get care through those beds, and spaces in hospitals. And we've proven that it's a problem. In terms of schools, there are teachers in those schools who are not children. And anyone who maybe he just doesn't have an old enough kid yet, but he needs to know that kids are sponges for disease. They go get the disease, they bring it back home. And as Anna has said on the show multiple times, 20% of households are multi-generational, so now it's back in the home. And the reason that we're okay opening certain things is because, A, you need to go get food to survive.
Yes.
And then you can come back. And then certain working situations are such where you stay away in an open construction site or whatever, that you can go in quickly and pick something up and come back. But if you are sending kids into these environments where good luck keeping them from hugging each other and drooling and spitting, it is, I mean, everyone who has a kid has told me they're just sponges for disease. I got foot and mouth and it was the worst week of my life.
Yeah, Ben Dixon was saying that yesterday in the show, that's he's actually never been healthier in the past decade than the period of pandemic because his kids aren't out there getting diseases to bring back to him.
Yeah, JR said he was it's the worst.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.